Hello guys, how you doing? Just sitting here waiting for Christian to come back. He's up Mount Snowdonia at the moment, walking his way back. He's getting a bit chilly now. I couldn't walk back because my ankle is mullered. And they wouldn't let me take the scooter up there for some reason. Apparently you can't take it up there, which is a bit strange, but that would have been handy if they had done. But God, it's getting well nippy now. But it's been a lovely day today. I tell you what, I've got some nice footage on the way back. I'm just trying to upload it at the moment. But I thought, I was talking to Christian and Sally and that the other day about, it's fascinating because we're in Wales and it's dragons, so it's kind of relevant because the whole George, George and the Dragon is like British patriotic thing. The whole, Cross of St George and all that. It's all English patriotism, and it's got nothing to do with dragons. It's got nothing to do with it ain't got nothing to do with George and the Dragon. It's got nothing to do with George or the Dragon. It's got nothing to do with dragons. It's got nothing to do with a bloke called George. George and the Dragon was a Cappadocian. St George was a Cappadocian army geezer. He was in the army, in the Roman army in Cappadocia in like 800 AD or something, or 600 AD or something like that. And but he was martyred, and his name weren't George, right? I don't know why that happened, but he's over the years he became a saint for just a stupid reason. It wasn't anything to do with, it was totally unrelated to England, dragons, and a bloke called George, right? So basically, what George and the Dragon actually was, how they show you in plain sight. I was saying to Christian the other day, how they show you things in plain sight, and they show you stuff in advance, 20, 50, 100, 200 years in advance of what they're going to do to you in the future. For instance, they had COVID. They were making films about COVID in the early 90s, and Boris Johnson's dad wrote a book on COVID in the 80s. Some died in 84, 3 or 5 or something like that. What's his name? Boris Johnson's dad. I can't remember. A proper nonce. But so how they show you shit that's coming up in the future. Well, George and the Dragon. So the Dragon of George and the Dragon, if you have a look at all of the old versions, and bearing in mind this image was on coins, artwork, tapestries, paintings, the George and the Dragon, it was all over the place, in your face, for hundreds of years, right? But it had nothing to do with George or a dragon or England, yeah, basically nothing at all to do with it. But the reason that they chose that way of showing you, it was in plain sight back then, because the geezer on the horse is a Knights Templar. Yeah, obviously a knight, yeah, St George, but that ain't St George. It's a Knights Templar. Basically, you've got to look at the symbology. It's a Knights Templar on a horse slaying what looks like a dragon, but it's not. If you have a look, it's got no back legs. All right, so it's a Zealant, yeah, a Zylant. A Zealant is like a dragon hybrid. It ain't got back legs. It's got wings and front feet. Yeah, so it's a Zealand, but the Zealand was representative. See, we found this out off them John Langhorne bells in Essex. John Langhorne of Essex in 1432 or something like that, talking about the standing wave bells and stacked data before in the church crypts and stuff. Well, those bells had dragons on. Some of those bells had dragons, but all those Gothic, they call them Gothic marks, but they're not. They're symbolic of that. They're the instructions for that particular bell. So when you get like loads of, because a lot of bells have language on. Some have got Tartarian on, in fact, but a lot of bells have weird inscriptions and bits and bobs on. But on there, on like the rim or somewhere, there'll be like a dragon or knotted work, yeah. The knotted work is representative of the ley lines, and the dragon represents the fact that it's the dragon ley lines that this bell's to be used with. So when you get like a knot and a dragon, and you get a cauldron, John Langhorne's signature, I think it was a cauldron. I can't remember, but so the Zealand is the dragon ley lines. So over here we've got the Michael and Mary lines that run from Cornwall right up to North Norfolk. Yeah, they're the main lines, the masculine and feminine. They're called Michael and Mary lines, not anything to do with religion, but that's just what they're called. I can't remember why, but so they look like a DNA helix like we have, yeah. And they're like ley lines that interweave. Yeah, they go all up through Stonehenge from down in Cornwall, which is funny because that's where I was living for 3 months in a caravan somewhere. I can't remember, Truro or somewhere, but yeah, anyway, so the dragon is the Zealand, and George and the Dragon is basically when they were showing you back in the day that in the next 100, 300 years, 500 years, you're going to lose your free energy. This was George and the Dragon. It was the Knights Templar, which are all 33rd degree Freemasonic child killers, as we've been through before many times. Knights Templar taking away your free energy, the dragon ley lines, and the whole frequency thing. It's all about that. It's got fuck all to do with George, anyone called George. It's got nothing to do with a dragon, because it's a Zealand, not a dragon, and it ain't got nothing to do with England. It was just some random Roman soldier that died for what he believed in, and I can't even remember what that was for. That was for something kind of pointless anyway. It was nothing, and the whole thing is nothing. But look what's happened from George and the Dragon. But they put it on coins, they put it on this, put it on that, put it on everything. Because they have to show you, don't they? They have to show you what they're going to do to you, or the fact of what they're going to do. Not necessarily to you, but this was them showing you that they're going to take away your free energy at the reset. And it was in your face for I think 300 years. How long has that George and the Dragons been going since? Well, it weren't George and the Dragon to start with. It was Saint George, and it wasn't even Saint George. It was something else, but it was. He got martyred for whatever, I can't remember his name. Was just call him fucking Cappadocian Bob for argument's sake. Yeah, he became Saint George, and they just used that. Oh look, we can make George and the Dragon. Look, we can use the dragon to show the ley lines being taken away, the free energy. That's all it was. Just in your in plain sight in your face that they're going to take the free energy away at the next reset, which is it's kind of sad, but it's good that we know the shit now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Sorry, it's fucking freezing now. I'm going to go in a sec. You couldn't make this shit up, could you? You know what's happened, and it's easy to see so much stuff now. Pardon me, it's really easy to see, really easy. And people are waking up in droves, aren't they? The controllers are getting angry, getting proper angry, because it all makes sense. Do you know what I mean? On the website, it's fucking, it makes sense. Small children can understand. We don't make it complicated, because reality and truth isn't complicated. It's not complicated at all. But they make it complicated so people think that they've got to compete to get good grades. So they make courses and they make reality so fucking complicated. All pie charts and graph charts and fucking lines doing bits and bobs, and it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that, you know. All that alchemy stuff, what we thought, when they were talking about turning base metals into stone, that was frequency and vibration. And the Philosopher's Stone was definitely red mercury ore. It was cinnabar ore, which is basically red mercury is the Philosopher's Stone, or cinnabar ore, should I say. All that alchemy, there's nothing, it was science. Alchemy, what we think of as alchemy ain't nothing to do with alchemy. It was science back then, and then it sort of, when they stopped us having access to any of it, or any thoughts about it, or any idea and understanding of science, what was Tartarian science, they called it alchemy and just said, oh yeah, they were trying to turn base metals into gold, don't worry about it. And that was it, but that was the front for what alchemy is, which was Tartarian science, basically. They were way ahead. Look at them TPC mirrors, them time phase conjugated mirrors, the red mercury mirrors. They started off with the church crypts, and the crypts didn't have dead people in. I think I talked about this before. I've written quite a lot about it, but this is so fascinating. I'll cover it again quickly, because the church crypts weren't for putting dead people in and fucking burying shit. They were for communicating. This is how Tartaria got started. When the first buildings of Tartaria, whenever that reset started, the older Tartarian buildings, for the communication aspect, they used to use, they'd ring the bell to I did say this, didn't I, the other week, I think. I might have deleted that video, but they'd ring the church bells in Fibonacci series, boom, I think it's one, I can't remember what Fibonacci, 1379, is that? Fucking, I can't remember, I'm not very good at all that sort of thing, but they pulse the telluric currents, because the church is sitting on a node, on the powerful point of an intersection of a ley line. So when they ring the church bells, all church bells had what they called stabilising rods that went down into the crypts. Now the crypts were all held together with, see, all the piezoelectric quartz that made the crypts up, and the crypts were all very specific sizes. They're very specific sizes, and they were all pulled together. Now, you know what happens when you squeeze piezoelectric rock? That's how come your lighter lights, yeah? Because that's what happens. It creates an electric charge. So these church crypts are all made with rods that pull the big stone, like fucking 3 tons stone together, already creating a semi-piezoelectric charge. And then what happens when they ring the church bell? This standing wave that reverberates the whole time that the church bells are ringing, and for 30, 40, 50 seconds after, it activates the telluric currents. Anyway, so the telluric current on where the next church, or the church fucking 50 miles away, wherever this person wants to talk to, yeah, they'll have their own designated what they want to see, the bells are to heal, but they're also, when you pulse the right frequency, you're gonna, it's like dialing someone's number. When you've got this Fibonacci, I can't remember what the Fibonacci series is, fuck knows, but when you do that and you've got a certain phone number, or almost basically, you're not necessarily that these people down there can hear you, it's you're pulsing the telluric currents. That person, yeah, if they know to receive a call, for instance, for argument's sake, at a certain time, or maybe something's activated in the crypt that lets, or in the church that lets people know, like someone's trying to commit. But this is without a doubt how Tartaria started off being created, because what was happening in these crypts, it was either a shared mind scenario, you know, like on Stranger Things, when that character, what's her name, Elle, is in that room with the 2 inches of water on the floor, and it's all black, and she's wearing some white thing. She's in a sublimation tank, and she's sharing a space and a time with someone else. Could have been a shared mind situation like that. See, this is so fascinating. People never thought this. We just thought church bells were for calling people to prayer, but they could have been using either a shared mind scenario. That could have done that if you were standing in the right place in the crypt, yeah. And some of these crypts had amazing ceilings, vaulted, really precision architecture. But anyway, so then they scaled that technology down to the mirrors. Sorry, I didn't finish that bit. So it could have been a shared mind scenario, or it could have been a situation where someone can read cymatic patterns. Yeah, it could be voice patterns. Yeah, it could be. See, we've battered this back and forward a bit. It could be a number of things, but we're not sure yet. But that no doubt will develop, and we'll work that out as well soon, because more things will come to light, because it's fucking mental. So much stuff has come to light, and the only place you're going to find any of this info, well, the first place you're going to find any of this info is Christian 21 on christian21.com. Or in all of his videos before. But all this new stuff, this is all new off the bat stuff, and it's real, because look at fucking hell, all these people doing books on Tartaria and free energy, and they're all the Cabbage Patch Kids and all that. They're all sniffing up the right tree, but most of them don't know why, how, when, where, who, what for. Yeah, we've got all the answers. Yeah. So we get trolled big time, but they're getting well pissed off now, because it's funny, because we're hitting raw nerves, because this information's so simple. See, if you're a cosmologist or whatever, you're in a lot of trouble. This is what we're saying. You're in a lot of trouble in a minute when this happens, because your world's going to fall apart big time, and that's making people angry. I mean, I don't understand how people would spend any time whatsoever. I mean, if I didn't like something or someone or whatever, or I disagreed with an opinion that I saw online or whatever, I wouldn't bother with it. I would just laugh it off. I wouldn't even bother going on there ever again. Why would you? And the fact that we've had people, fucking not many, like 12 or 15, 20 maybe now, I don't know, but for fucking 4 years, they must spend a large part of their day saying silly things. I don't understand about me and Christian. It's just mental. I don't think any of them have read a single word of any of it. They just don't agree because they don't like the idea of it. But Christian did say that this would happen. One of the first things he said towards the end, a lot of people will get very angry. You could say. But the TPC mirrors, this is what I'm saying, the time phase conjugated mirrors, the red Mercury mirrors are responsible for the mirror madness, because that mirror madness was a thing. And that was put a lot of people in psychiatric hospitals, both from like fucking 1730s, 1740s, maybe 50s onwards, till like early 1900s. Yeah. Maybe late 1800s, early 1900s, but it put thousands of people in mental homes. Mirrors, how did they do that? But it weren't the people, they weren't nuts, they were just the mirrors, since they changed the I've got well deja vu here. But anyway, let me carry on. I don't want to spoil it. I think I did say this in the last video, or maybe I didn't post it, can't remember. But anyway, so they weren't nuts, these people. See, when they changed the lunar frequencies after the 1728 reset, they didn't want no one using red Mercury technology. They didn't want no one having access to anything slightly telepathic. They got rid of all of the, you know, the Blemye, the Penotti, all that went. All these characters, all these odd fellows and goblins and gnomes and elves and giants, all of them went. And when I say giants, I don't mean the really big ones. I mean like what you'd call like a Tartarian giant, which is like 12 foot tall. That ain't a giant. That's like a midget. But till we came along. And white people have only been here a short time. White people are like new. We've been here only a couple of resets. There's only been white people for a reset or two. You know what I mean? So, but what was I saying? Yeah, so they had to get rid of all the technology. And when they changed the lunar frequencies so that no one had access to a lot, they were much better, more beneficial, the lunar frequencies. Now, all that lunar stuff is right, and it does affect people, and it does make you got lunatics and all this sort of stuff. But it was also used to activate the mirrors. Now, when you cast two or more of these mirrors that were very precision made, 0.5 micron, yeah, between the glass. So basically, these mirrors were 5 meters square. Some of them. That's fucking big area to make in 1430. Yeah, the year 1430 to make. See, to make a glass sheet 5 meters square, you've got a blow of glass tube. Honestly, you've got to blow a glass tube to make a 5 meter square mirror. You've got to blow a glass tube like that, a tube, and you've got to cut it down the middle and then unfold it, and that will be then the full glass sheet. Are you with me? You see, in 1432, where you're going to get a vacuum sealed room, where you're going to get fucking HEPA filtration, you can't have one particle of dust go into that glass when it's setting. And you're in 1432. What, you fucking Merlin or something? Do you know what I mean? This is far out. So even the fact they could blow a 5 meter square sheet of glass with 0 imperfections, they then have to coat it in a layer of bismuth. Yeah, bismuth is very anti-magnetic. Now what happens is when the red mercury is in an amalgam of bit of tin, bit of antimony and lead, and what was that other thing? Can't remember. There's something else they chuck in there as well. But as it's setting, they put a 3 to 5 volt charge through the amalgam. Now that then draws it into a Stelzner lattice, so it sets in little hexagons or octagons or whatever, a Stelzner lattice. So it sets and creates the background for the pixels. See, and when they put the glass on top, when the glass is on the top, then they put the bismuth on, then they put the red mercury amalgam on. Now, because the red mercury amalgam is very magnetic, the bismuth isn't, right? It doesn't like it at all, so it's repelling the electromagnetic red mercury. And what happens is it's got a 0.5 micron. If someone's blown the sheet of glass right, that's completely flat, in 1432, then you're going to get the ability to, when these mirrors, the amalgam sets, yeah, under the right lunar conditions, back then before 1728, let's just say, then you'd get 2 mirrors that when you separate those mirrors, they're quantum linked now, because they've got the red mercury. Anyway, it's cast under the same lunar frequencies, which have made them like a pair, or 5 of them, or 10 of them, or 15 of them, or 20 of them. Then you ship them out all around the world. But when the moonlight hits these mirrors, or when you need to communicate, you've got real-time zoom, yeah, and that comes from the church bell technology. So all that came from. See, this is another reason about ghosts. This is why ghosts are associated with churchyards, because churchyards never used to have dead people in. That wasn't what they were for, as we've been through many times. But what would happen, because churchyards and the crypts had red mercury, cinnabar ore in the crypts, yeah, for the communication aspect of the original church bell communication systems, which weren't just audio communication, they were pulsing telluric currents, so that you could stand in crypts 100 miles away, 500 miles away, 1,000 miles away, and communicate in real time. But then they scaled that down to, that's what I was saying, to the mirrors, to the time phase conjugated mirrors. Now, they weren't meant to be talking to people in the past and in the future or anything like that. What they were meant for real-time communication. But when they changed the lunar frequencies, these mirrors started malfunctioning. So what was happening was they were playing back images. Oh, sorry, I don't want to digress. Talking about the churchyards. These places, the crypts, had red mercury in cinnabar ore quite often, if not always. And the piezoelectric stuff. So basically, apparitions and all that, they're real. They're not ghosts, though. They're not the spirits of dead people mincing about in the graveyard, rattling chains with a sheet on. What they are is, because of the red mercury acts as a recorder, right? So they can it will record and play back, yeah, red mercury randomly with the right lunar frequency. If the right moonlight is hitting a certain area, that's, for instance, the side of a church, that church will be semi-activated. That will be able to play back, not specifically one area like a projection, but you'll see apparitions. Things might move about just because the red mercury is in the ground, and also probably in the ground, and also it's in the construction of the crypts. I didn't tell Christian that the other day. I forgot that bit. But that's what ghosts are and apparitions. It's because of the design and construction of the church and the crypts and that for communication, and the red mercury, right? Because that was also a big part of Tartarian culture, or Tartarian technology, should I say, was red mercury. Big part, if not essential in all of it. It was red mercury in the balls on the spires, red mercury all over the place, and a lot of copper, and a lot of what do you call it? Oh, I'm gonna have to go in. I'm fucking freezing. Copper and can't remember. But so That's what ghosts are. Not ghosts, sorry, that's what apparitions are. Ghosts are fake, built off the back of apparitions, which are real, yeah? So now people don't really see apparitions that much. Obviously they're cashed in on that, and the Greys were making people see stuff, obviously, telepathically, because you know what they're like, and also people make shit up, and also, which is a big part of it, and also you've got the folklore stories, and they're all based off of apparitions in graveyards or where there's red mercury. You might have had a battlefield, for instance, or a house that sits near or on some cinnabar or a large lump of it, then you'll have weird shit happen. But it's not dead people, it's not hauntings, that's all fake. That's greys. Hauntings are greys. All that paranormal haunting shit is all grey ET, or it was. There ain't none now. There ain't none now, but it used to be. But oh dear, it's getting well cold now. Listen, I'm going in. Bye for now, yeah? Big love.